What's good, Cubers? It's your boy Matt, here with another card of the week, and this week I want to take a look at Karn, Scion of Urza. Alright, Karn, Scion of Urza is a colorless planeswalker for 4 mana. You get to plus it 1 and reveal the top 2 cards of your library. An opponent chooses one of them and you put that card into your hand, then you exile the other with a silver counter on it. -1 to put a card with a silver counter on it from exile into your hand, and -2, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Karn enters the battlefield with 5 loyalty, which is pretty strong for a 4 mana planeswalker. That's respectable. And the question today is Karn cubable? Now, the reason I wanted to take a look at Karn today is, one, yeah, Karn's a really good card and he's really interesting and he's definitely worth considering for Cube. But the other reason I wanted to talk about Karn because it gives us an opportunity to talk about something else that's maybe problematic in Cube, which is planeswalker density. How many planeswalkers is too many walkers? How many is too few? Karn's going to let's talk about both of these things because the colorless planeswalker portion of the cube is actually really limited, and so we can discuss the larger argument with a smaller sample size. And with that said, let's get started. The first colorless walker we want to compare Karn to is actually himself, right? Karn Liberated. Karn Liberated costs 7, so he's a little overcosted than Karn Scion of Urza. Scion of Urza provides card draw, and Scion doesn't protect himself when he comes down, so the card draw value engine is a little slow, and there's the possibility that he gets killed. Liberated makes your opponent exile a card from their hand, exile a permanent, so it comes down a little later, but it can protect itself, which is a big deal. And Liberated's ultimate ends the game, right? When you start that game over with the stuff you've exiled already in play, yeah, it's a done deal. And truthfully, you might never ultimate Karn. You might keep using his pluses and minuses, which will end the game. So Liberate is definitely a stronger planeswalker than Scion, but he doesn't provide any card draw advantage either. Now, Liberated is a staple in Cube, and if you're playing him, you're probably not swapping him out for Karn Scion of Urza, for sure. Let's take a minute and look at the other colorless walker popular in Cubes. The other colorless walker that gets played in Cube is, you guessed it, Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Now, he actually costs more than Liberated at 8 colorless mana, and he doesn't provide any card draw. But what he does do is wreck people. Ugin's +2 is deal 3 damage to a creature or player. His minus ability is -X. Exile each permanent with a converted mana cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors, which is basically everything but Ugin and the mana rocks on the board. And then his -10 is you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put 7 permanents from your hand onto the battlefield, which again wrecks people. So Ugin is one of the best, if not the best, planeswalker for Cube. Now, like I said, he does cost more than Scion, right? But at the same time, he does so much more than Scion. So now I bet you're wondering, well, Matt, if these two planeswalkers are better than Scion, why are we even talking about them? Or you're thinking, well, Matt, why can't I just run all 3? And both of those are reasonable possibilities. Now let's take a minute and talk about one of the things I really wanted to get into today, which is planeswalker density inside your cube. Oh God, what is this? Math? Pie charts, what are you doing, Matt? Unfortunately, math is actually a part of Cube, and balance is really important. So what I've done is I've pulled the super type distribution chart for the modern cube and the legacy cube for Magic the Gathering Online, and the Cube Tutor average for a 450 card cube from Cube Tutor. Alright, so let's start with the MTGO modern cube. Cube is 540 cards, and it is 6.7% walkers, i.e. 36 planeswalkers. Now, if we have 2 in every color, that's 10, and 1 in every guild, that's 10 more. That gets us to 20 walkers. So when you're at 540 cards, you really have a lot more flexibility. You could run 2 colorless walkers, Ugin and Liberated, and then still have room for Scion of Urza if you wanted to, along with your favorite planeswalkers or the most appropriate planeswalkers sprinkled into other colors. If we look at the Legacy Cube, we can actually see that Wizards is pretty consistent. There's 7% planeswalkers, the cube is 600 cards, so they get 42 walkers. That's actually not that far off from what they do with their modern cube, which is very reasonable for their purposes. But I actually think the Cube Tutor average is probably closer to what the average cuber wants to do, right? That at-home cube, that cube you take down to the shop and cube with your friends. Actually don't know if you want to be that planeswalker heavy. MTGO is appealing to a different audience than what you're trying to do at your house. And while I like some of their cube construction, I don't necessarily like all the rules that they adhere to. Some of their planeswalkers are trap planeswalkers that aren't that good, and sometimes they're just trying to appeal to fan favorites, right? They want people to crack open their cube and go, oh, Nihiri and Ajani, I love these guys, they're fantastic. Whereas at home you might look at them and go, like, I want one and not the other because I'm not trying to make the Boros section of my cube all walkers. Also, the MTGO cubes tend to support a Super Friends archetype, right? So they are a little deeper in Planeswalker to support a deck that could be mostly Planeswalkers. If we look at the average cube builder's deck, we'll see that their cube is about 4.7% Planeswalkers if their cube is 450 cards, which is the average cube size. So 4.7% means 21 walkers. That's 2 in each color, 1 in each guild, and then an extra planeswalker floating around. Now you'll notice I keep saying, and 1 in each guild. You don't actually have to run a planeswalker in every single guild. Sometimes they're not the best cards. Just because you have a planeswalker in one guild doesn't mean you have to necessarily run one in the other. Right now, I'm not running a Selesnya planeswalker in my cube. That's fine. Cubes are very much a personal preference, and if you actually want to go heavier on planeswalkers, you're more than welcome to. It's all about what your drafters enjoy playing with. Still, I think the average cuber is probably right, and anywhere from 5 to 6% planeswalkers feels pretty good and pretty balanced without being overwhelming. Now, let's go back and rethink Karn. So, if the average cube is 450 cards, 5% of that cube is 22.5, call that 23. We run 2 walkers in each color, 1 walker in each guild, and 2 to 3 colorless walkers, and suddenly Karn is in fact very playable in terms of size in your average sized cube. So now let's go back to our broader question. Karn provides us with card draw, which is pretty relevant for almost any deck that chooses to draft Karn, and of course any deck can play him, and then he's cheaply costed with a high loyalty. So yeah, if your cube's of the right size and you're not oversaturated with planeswalkers, then play Karn for sure. Even though he feels like an auto-include, it might also be a good time to evaluate how dense your cube is with walkers to begin with. That's our video for today, boys and girls. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you can know when our next video is coming out, and if there's a card you want us to do, or if you think I got it wrong, please feel free to comment below, and until then, keep cubing, my friends.